Welcome back to Moby's Kitchen, and today we're going to be making one of my most requested recipes ever, my famous meatball subs. Now the meatball recipe comes from my Italian mom, and my daughter's volleyball team's coming over tomorrow night for dinner, and we thought this would be a perfect dish for them. Let's get started by making the sauce. All great tomato sauces begin with these three main ingredients: a finely diced carrot, a finely diced yellow onion, and about 4 cloves of finely diced garlic. Okay, we're over at the stove and it's time to start getting the base of the sauce going here. So come on in, take a look at this. We're gonna start with a few tablespoons of olive oil. We've got our pan preheated on medium heat. And we're gonna take our diced onion, get that going. And our diced carrot. We're going to save the garlic for a little bit later because the garlic will burn and we don't want any burned garlic flavor in there. So we're going to let this cook off for probably about 5 minutes till everything kind of softens up, and then we'll come back with the next step. All right, we've been going about 5 minutes here with our carrots and onions. We're gonna add just a little splash of olive oil in here, maybe a half a tablespoon. We're gonna put our garlic. This only needs to cook for about 30 seconds here until it gets fragrant. Otherwise it's gonna burn. So we're gonna stir that in. And while that garlic's going, we're gonna get some tomato paste in there. This adds a nice little richness. So we're gonna do a couple tablespoons of tomato paste. And we wanna cook the rawness off of that. Use a good quality tomato paste and tomatoes. I like tomatoes from Italy. The San Marzanos, the Centos are my favorite. Tomato paste is also from Italy. Best tomatoes in the world. All right, we're gonna cook this down for about 30 seconds. I'll be right back with you. Okay, we're gonna add in about a half a glass of red wine, whatever kind of red wine you like. This just adds a nice little sweetness. We're gonna let the alcohol cook out of that so it leaves back that nice flavor. So we'll give this another about minute to go, and then we'll be right back with you. Okay, now we're gonna add in some tomato puree, also known as passata in Italy. This brand's from Italy, and I highly recommend using an Italian brand like a Mutti or a Cento. So we're gonna put the whole jar, because we're making a lot here. We got about 15 girls on the team, and I wanna make extra. So we're gonna put that in there, and then we're gonna put a can of these Cento crushed tomatoes. I'm gonna pour that whole can in there as well. That's gonna be a nice base. All right, and then what we're gonna do is fill these up about, I don't know, a quarter of the way with water, each one, shake them and then pour them in there. We put just a little bit of water in here, and we're gonna get that in here. That kind of cleaned out the jar there. And we did the same thing in our can of crushed tomatoes. We're gonna pour that in there. Then we're gonna give it a little stir. Get all those flavors incorporated. And I'll be right back with you with the next step. Okay, next step, we're gonna get we're gonna use 2 cans of Cento San Marzano tomatoes here. These are peeled tomatoes from Italy. Buy this brand. Don't cheap out on this step. This is key. So what we're gonna do, I've got a glove on since we're cooking for multiple people here. We're gonna take the tomatoes out and just hand crush them in. Keep them low because they do kind of spray everywhere when you crush them. So we're gonna do this with both cans and then pour the juice of each can in there. So I'll be back with you once we get that done. As you can see, they just come right apart. All right, so I've combined both our cans of Cento tomatoes, put a little bit of water in there, maybe about a third of the jar there. Pour that in there, and then we're gonna add some kosher salt. Maybe about a tablespoon to start. We can always add salt later, so about a tablespoon to start. We haven't put any in there. And then some fresh cracked black pepper. Maybe a couple teaspoons of black pepper here at this point. We're gonna add in about 5 or 6 fresh basil leaves. A little spray of olive oil on top there. And we're gonna give it a nice stir. It already smells amazing in here. What do you think, Bobby? Mm-hmm. All right, once we have this stirred up, we're gonna let this simmer for at least an hour. We're gonna taste it in a little bit, maybe in a half an hour, see if we need any more salt or pepper, or if it's missing anything. Okay, we're gonna turn our heat down to about a low medium, and then we're gonna put our lid with just a little crack so some of that steam can escape and the flavors can kind of condense and become really delicious. Okay, it's time to mix up the meat and all the ingredients for the meatballs. So take a look here. We've got a 1.5 pounds of 80/20 ground beef. We've got a pound of ground pork, and we've got a pound of ground veal. These three meats together are key to the success of these meatballs. Then we're gonna add in a cup of grated Pecorino Romano cheese. Now get the real stuff and hand grate this yourself. You could use Parmigiano Reggiano as well, it's your choice. We got about 6 tablespoons of the Marinara Sauce. Add that in there. And we've got some finely minced garlic here. We've got about four or five cloves here, maybe 6. And we've got some grated yellow onion. So I grated a whole yellow onion. Want it nice and fine there. And we have about 3 tablespoons of fresh parsley diced up and 2 tablespoons of fresh basil diced up. It's gonna go in there. We have a 1.5 cups of Italian breadcrumbs. And we have 3 eggs lightly beaten. And we have about a tablespoon of fresh cracked black pepper and a couple tablespoons of kosher salt. All right, and we've got our gloved hands, and we're just gonna get in here and mix this all up until it's all well combined. Okay, all of our meat mixture is nice and combined. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a 1/4 cup. We're gonna get that in there. This is a nice way to ensure that your meatballs stay one size. So once you get it all even in there, pack it down in there. Looks like that. You gotta give it a little pop like that. Then you just kind of roll it into a gentle ball here. I like to kind of leave, being that these are gonna go in a meatball sub, kind of leave those flat edges. You don't wanna overwork this too much. It'll come out more tender if you don't overwork it. You're gonna set it on a baking tray lined with some parchment paper, and you're just gonna repeat that process until all your meat's gone. Okay, so I just finished rolling all the meatballs. I've got some in the oven already. I'm gonna put this next batch in there as well. We're at 375 degrees in our oven. We're gonna give this about 25 to 30 minutes. We're gonna watch it till they get kind of a golden brown hue on the outside. So let's get these in the oven, and then we'll be back with you. All right, our sauce is all done. It gets like that nice deep red color. Full disclosure, I added probably another tablespoon of salt, of kosher salt, and maybe another couple teaspoons of fresh cracked black pepper. If you feel like it's too acidic for you, you could add a little bit of white sugar. It just is kind of sugar to taste and salt to taste, but that's what it should look like. Nice, perfect consistency. I like a little bit of chunkiness in mine. Then when we get the meatballs out of the oven, we're gonna put them in the sauce and just let them marinate in there. All right, here they are out of the oven. We're gonna let them rest for a couple minutes, and then we're gonna get them in the pot of sauce. So our meatballs are ready to start going in the sauce. Look at that beautiful caramelization on the bottom. We're just gonna pop these right in the sauce one by one. And then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna let these kind of simmer for 20, 30 minutes until you're ready to serve them. If they need to simmer longer, they can do that too. We're cooking these the day before, so we're just gonna reheat up all this sauce before the girls come over for the wonderful dinner. All right, it's the next day, and the girls are gonna be here in about an hour, hour and a half. So I'm gonna do a little sample meatball sub now. I'm gonna show you kind of how to go. So we have a greased pan. We've got our oven preheated at 425 degrees, or you can do 400 degrees on convection. So we're gonna start, I made a little bit of garlic butter. So this is fresh chopped garlic, a couple sticks of butter, and some parsley, and I put a little bit of black pepper in it. And you just kind of heat it up. We're gonna get that on each side. We don't need a ton of this. Just adds a little kick of extra flavor. All right. Then what we're gonna do is on one side, we're gonna put some fresh sliced mozzarella, 2 slices. And the other side, we're gonna put a piece of provolone cheese that I've just broken in half here. And then this is gonna go in the oven until these kind of get sort of melty, maybe a little bit brown on them, we're gonna watch that. It's probably gonna take about 5 to 10 minutes, somewhere in there. Okay, so we've got our cheesy garlic bread out of the oven. I've got a couple meatballs here, as you can see, cut in half with some extra sauce. So we're just gonna spoon these on. I like to cut them in half so they kind of lay flat on here. You can put as little or as many of these meatballs on here as you like. I'm gonna be generous, right? Why not? Put some extra sauce on there. And once again, you can put as much sauce or as little sauce as you like on there as well. Put it all. I like it nice and saucy myself. And then what you're gonna do is, be careful because it's hot and crispy. Fold it up like that. Look at that. Just look how good that looks. Okay, before we take a bite, let's put a little bit of fresh Pecorino Romano on here. Can't forget that. I almost forgot it, guys. Now we're complete. All right, guys, it's my favorite part of the video, taste test time. Let's take a bite of this meatball sub. I'm just going right in. It's gonna be messy. That is so good, I'm speechless. It's the perfect combination of the garlic cheesy bread with those meatballs are so tender and juicy, and then that homemade marinara sauce is key. That makes the whole thing. It kind of ties everything together. It's melty, it's crispy on the outside. Guys, make this one. It's worth a little extra effort to make that homemade sauce and make those meatballs yourself. Thanks for stopping by Moby's Kitchen. We've got the girls coming over. We'll try to get some footage of them eating it and see what they think as well. It was really fun having all the volleyball girls over. They all seem to enjoy the meatball subs and the dinner as a whole. And we're looking forward to them getting a big win tomorrow. What do you guys think?